Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
All right. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Maybe this is the first time tuning in. Well, welcome. Glad you're here, and really glad you're here, especially if you're tuned into the live stream, which is what we're doing right now. Love doing it live, keeps you on your toes. And the other great thing about doing this podcast live is that you can participate. You can tell me about your book. I would love to hear about your nonfiction book. If you're writing a book, maybe you have several books that are published. So you can, of course, comment in the chat. We'd love to have you go in the comments and let me know what book you are writing, or maybe you have published, what genre it is. By all means, please do that. And then, of course, you can always call in the show. We'd love to hear from you on the live stream. And that number, by the way, to call in live is 1-866-451-1451. That's 866-451-1451. Now, of course, if you're listening to the replay, you missed out. But, you can always catch us here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. All right. So just wanted to get that out of the way. Again, we have a great show planned for you today, but before we do, just a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. First of all, I am an audiobook coach and producer, and I do specialize in helping nonfiction authors like yourself take that great book that you've written and you have it published and it's out there in the world. Now it's time for you to take it to the next level and turn it into an audiobook that you, as the author, narrate, because there's no one who is more qualified to narrate your book than you. You've not only written it, but you lived it, you've breathed it, you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You put all this energy into creating a fantastic book. Maybe it's a memoir, maybe it's a personal experience, or hey, maybe you're a coach or an entrepreneur or an educator or a teacher, and you have a service you provide, or maybe you have products that you provide. Narrating your own audiobook is really the only way to present your service and product, because again, it's your service and product. So who is more qualified to talk about your coaching program or your service or your product? You are. Or maybe you're a poet, or maybe you are a children's book author. And you definitely need to narrate your own audiobook. Okay. So that's what I do as an audiobook coach and producer, is that I help you turn your book into an audiobook. And I do have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And I take you step by step through the process of recording your audiobook, narrating your audiobook, and getting it published. Definitely on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. You've got to be on the AAA. And if you do want your book published on other distribution platforms, I do offer that as well. That's part of the program. But those are things that we discuss when we have our initial call. Before we even enroll anybody, we do have a quick audiobook consultation call. And if you are interested, by all means, book a call. We'd love to hear from you. We have a graphic on the screen there for those of you who can see the video portion of the podcast, and has the link to book a call. It's my direct calendar link, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. That's the link, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. And you can always go to robertlanecoaching.com as well to book your call. Plus, it has more information about the audiobook coaching program. And of course, the second thing that I do want to share with you is that I do have a freebie that I love giving to everybody who tunes in, and that is a free audiobook narration reference guide. And this reference guide has a lot of great tools and techniques that you can utilize that will help you do an awesome narration. Practical tools, the intangibles, which are the emotion and the energy, things that you can do to bring that out, which helps you not only be more conversational, but definitely more authentic. So the link to grab your free narration reference guide is bit.ly/narration reference guide. That's bit.ly/narration reference guide. So grab your free guide. Love to have you get a copy of that. And again, you can go to robertlanecoaching.com, has all that information there as well. All right, so our topic today on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast is recording studio versus recording at home. The pros and cons. What are the good things? What are the bad things? And I will do a summary of, after we discuss these issues, I'll go over and have a summary and give you what I feel is the best option for you in regards to getting your audiobook done and done professionally. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the professional recording studio. We'll talk about the pros and we'll talk about the cons. So, professional recording studio. Obviously, the number one pro is that it's a professional recording studio, which means that they have pro equipment. They should have a pro recording room for you to do your narration. That's you don't feel like you're in a crammed little box, but you are in a room that is comfortable and that allows you to do your audiobook narration comfortably and effectively. Again, they're able to provide a great space that's soundproof. They are able to provide excellent equipment like microphones. Instead of using the cheapy microphones, I mean, you're using things that are probably worth thousands of dollars that they use in their recording studio, and that's what you should do. So they all provide that for you, which makes it a great experience for you to record professionally. So the thing is, though, and this may be a con depending on how you look at it, if you are thinking about recording and going that route to a professional recording studio, you're going to have to vet out various studios and find out what the best studio is for you to record in. And depending where you live, if you live in a big city, if you're in New York or Chicago or LA or Atlanta or wherever you are across the country, if you are in a big city that has options for you to go and talk to these different recording studios, look at them, see what they have, and make sure that the staff that's working there are professional and will do a great job for you, then you need to basically interview them, go there, check it out, see how much it costs, and then make your decision. Now, if you are in a small town and maybe you need to travel, a couple hours, maybe even more, to get to a bigger city that has a really good recording studio that you need to check out, that can be a con, okay? Because there's definitely time that it takes to get there and to do what you need to do for recording. But the most important aspect of finding a great recording studio is professional. It's got to be great, and it has to be top quality. Because remember, as an author, this is your brand. Your audiobook is part of the products that you offer. Okay, you got your ebook and your paperback, or maybe you'll also have a hardcover, and now you're going to do your audiobook. All of your products as an author need to be the best of the best. You are presenting something that represents you and your author brand. So when you're recording in a studio, you got to make sure it's professional, okay? If someone's charging you like 25 or 50 bucks an hour, I'd vet it out, because you know what? If you want something professional, you're going to have to pay the money to do it. Some recording studios on the low end, maybe 100 or 200 bucks an hour. Some of the higher end ones are going to be a lot more than that. So those are things that you also need to consider when looking at recording studio if you decide to go that route. The other good thing, though, let's talk about a professional recording studio, is they may have an audio engineer. Well, you're going to have an audio engineer that's going to be there to help run your session, okay? But they may also have a professional post-production audio editor that you're going to need, whether you record in a studio or you record at home. You still have to have your audiobook edited. And it's cleaning up the audio files, making sure they sound great. And of course, making sure that your audiobook meets the exact specifications for publication, because if they don't, then your audiobook is going to be rejected. And I've seen this happen several times. As a matter of fact, I've helped several clients of mine who already had their audiobook recorded, yet it was still getting rejected. So I had to help them and walk them through some of the things that they needed to do to fix their audio. Not only fix their audio, which is something that I do offer. I call it audiobook file repair, because that's basically what they needed. But then also when they're uploading their audiobook for publication, for example, into Audible, Amazon, and Apple, or any of the other distribution platforms, you have to make sure that you're following their guidelines and their specifications, not only with the audio, but how you set it up, because that's another important factor. And that could be another reason why an audiobook gets rejected. So luckily, I was able to do audiobook file repair for a few of these authors and get them fixed. There is a story that I've shared with before on the podcast about an author that I did work with, but before we worked together on one of his books, because he has several books that are published, he did do one of his other books before we met, and he went to a professional, so we thought, professional recording studio, and guess what? There was something wrong with the audio, and it got rejected. He couldn't upload it, so he missed his launch date. He spent actually several months trying to fix his audio. He finally was able to fix it, which is good, because that means he didn't have to go back and re-record the entire audiobook, because man, that would be a huge undertaking. But he was able to finally fix his files after spending a few $1,000s getting everything fixed, and finally got it published. So again, that's why it's so important that if you are looking at the recording studio aspect of doing your audiobook, you got to make sure that it is pro and that you have great quality people working there, and that it is a very high quality studio. All right. One of the cons could be financial. Let's say you found a great recording studio and they only charge you $100 an hour. All right. That's great. But now you have to map out the time that it's going to take for you to record your audiobook. So let's say your book is 80,000 words. Okay. To record a book that's that many words, you probably do an average of about 9,300 words per hour of recording. So divide that into 80,000, you're going to get roughly 9 hours, almost 9 hours, between 9 to 10 hours of actual audiobook time. All right, that is like the exact time of how long your audiobook will be. All right, with a book that's big. So with that number, let's say it's 10 hours. Okay. Now you need to double that number, because when it comes to recording your audiobook, you have to give yourself double the time to deal with redos, maybe if you're making a lot of mistakes, if your voice is not sounding well and you need to take some time. And this happens while you're at the studio. It's like, my voice, I need to rest it. Take 5 or 10 minutes, then go back into it and do it. So you got to map out your time and figure out how long is this going to take for me to do it. So if it takes, let's say, 20 hours of recording time to actually record your book and do it well, and you're getting, let's say, $100 an hour. So multiply that, you're already paying $2,000 just for recording your audiobook. The next phase, of course, is going to be editing. And depending how the editor does their editing of your audiobook, and you got to have somebody who's good, somebody who's professional, not someone who says, I can edit your audiobook, and then they just run it through some app or some program or plugin in their system and says, okay, it's all clean, it's all good, and then let me just adjust it so it fits the specifications. That is not good enough, my friends. That is not good enough, because there are going to be things in your audiobook that maybe there's a word mispronunciation, or maybe you slurred a word, or maybe there's the overall pacing of your audiobook. Now, a good audio editor is going to spend 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 hours, depending on how they do their editing, and really go through it and spend the time to make sure that everything sounds great. So multiply that, right? If you're paying $100 an hour and now you're paying an editor who has to do another 20, 30 hours worth of editing, maybe 40, maybe 50, you're looking at another $3, $4, $5,000 of editing time in addition to the $2,000 you spent recording your audiobook. Obviously, that adds up, right? It gets really expensive. So, again, that is something that you need to think about and consider, and that can be a con. All right. One more thing, one more con that I do want to mention before we take our first break is this. When you're in a studio, you're recording on their timeline. So if you are having a bad day and you need more time to record your audiobook, you're going to have to book more time, which means more money. So there's that added pressure of trying to get it done in the time allotted that you have booked for that studio. And that can affect, and it actually will affect, the quality of your narration. All right. So those are some of the pros and cons of going to a professional recording studio. When we come back, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the DIY, the do-it-yourself recording studio that you set up in your own home. So we'll get to that when we come back. You are listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. My business is called Robert Lane Coaching. You can go to robertlanecoaching.com to find out more about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach and to get more information about that. But we'll be back. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Don't go away.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
All right, we are back here at the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network, and since this is the live stream, by all means, would love to hear from you. You can comment and or you could even call in if you'd like, if you have a question about the audiobook world or about our topic, which again, our topic today is recording studio, professional recording studio versus do-it-yourself recording for your audiobook. If you have any questions, by all means, you can give us a call here live on the show at 866-451-1451. Again, that's 866-451-1451. Also, again, if you would like to get a freebie, I have one for you, and that is the Audiobook Narration Reference Guide. Grab yourself a copy of that. It has some nice tidbits of advice, tools, and techniques on how to do a great audiobook narration. And the link, by the way, is bit.ly/narration reference guide. Again, bit.ly/narration reference guide. You can pick yourself up a copy of that. And again, you can go to robertlanecoaching.com. Right on there on the homepage, you can click a button that says narration reference guide, and you can download it from there as well. All right. So again, yes, our topic is Professional recording studio versus DIY, do it yourself, setting up your own recording space in your own home. Well, let's talk about the DIY, okay? Recording your audiobook at home. There are definitely pros and cons about doing this. Let's hit some of the cons, okay? Let's get the negative out first, and then we're going to bring in the positive. All right. So, some of the cons. All right. First of all, you cannot cheapen out on equipment. All right. So, one of the cons could be, hey, I don't have a professional microphone or professional headphones, or I don't know how I'm going to record this thing. I'm just going to go to Amazon and grab a $50 mic or even a $100 mic. Says it's good. No, that's not the way to do it. You really need to have professional equipment. All right. You're going to have to make the investment of getting a great microphone. Plan on spending, I don't know, between $300 to $400 and get yourself a decent mic. Or in addition to that, you have to have really good headphones. Okay. Don't just buy, Beats or some other brand that's like heavy on the bass, or really thin and tinny sounding and very treble sounding. You need to get a great set of professional headphones that are accurate, okay? That are even in regards to what you hear is exactly what you're getting. You don't want enhanced bass, you don't want enhanced treble, you want it to be what they say in the business, flat. You want it to be flat sounding because that's how you really sound. And that's really important, okay? So that can be a con. If it's like, wow, boy, I got to get equipment, all right? But the pro side of it is once you get a great microphone and you have these great headphones to listen to, it's yours, right? You have it. So you don't have to go out and buy another microphone. And you're going to do your audiobook, and now maybe you've written your next book, or maybe you already have several books written, and you're like, wow, that was really great. I want to do my next book. You already have the equipment at your disposal, all right? So that could be definitely a positive. But again, don't cut corners. I say this all the time. You cannot cut corners. This is your brand. This is your product. You are an author brand. You don't cut corners in creating any of the products of your author brand, audiobook included, especially the audiobook. Because if you're narrating your own audiobook, you want people to really be compelled and engaged and on the edge of their seat from opening credits to closing credits when they're listening to your audiobook. All right. It has to be top quality. You don't cut corners, and hopefully you didn't cut corners when you published your nonfiction book, and that you hired the right team of people to help you, an editor, a proofreader, a formatter, a cover designer, a book coach, anybody that can help you with creating this great book that you did if you're self-publishing. Traditional publishers, of course, they do offer a lot of things, but the downside of traditional publishing, as far as I'm concerned, is that you're relinquishing more control over your book, which is relinquishing control over your author brand. And it's really good to be in control of your own business and your own product, because being an author brand is being a business. You are a professional. You're not a hobbyist. You are an entrepreneur. So welcome to entrepreneurship. It's a great thing. It really is. It's hard work, but it is a great thing. All right. Okay, so let's speak about another con of the do-it-yourself recording of your audiobook. All right, got to have great equipment, of course. Another con could be your recording space itself. So you have to be really aware of your surroundings. Very important. You have to set up your recording space in a place that is not too echoey, not in a huge room that's just wood or tile, and it's just very echoey and a lot of reverb, and it sounds like you're recording in a bathroom. That's not a good place to record. So you have to be aware of your surroundings. I had a client who it took us a while. She recorded her audiobook at home, and we really had to find a great space for her to set up, because in her house it was just very echoey. And we did find a great place for her to do her recording, and she sounded great. But you have to be aware of your surroundings, because you don't want to sound like you're in a big cathedral or you're in the bathroom. It's not going to sound good. The other thing that you definitely need to be aware of is what's going on around you. What's happening outside of the room that you're recording in? Are you hearing people opening doors, closing doors, talking loudly? Maybe you have pets. You can't have your pets in the same room when you're recording. I hear dog collars and cat collars and meows and walking and knocking over things in the background. All that gets picked up in your microphone. So you can't have any of those distractions. So whatever pets you have, maybe it's a bird, maybe it's a dog or a cat or a ferret or who knows what, a gerbil running on a wheel. Whatever it is, you can't have those pets in the room when you are recording your audiobook. It is so distracting, and obviously it's going to be recorded in your microphone. So making sure that you have a great recording space is definitely crucial. Okay. Now, the other con is, again, after you record your audiobook, you still have to find an editor, a professional editor who has experience working with audiobooks so they understand what to look for, how to clean it up, how to do it correctly, and of course, making sure that your audiobook is meeting the exact specifications for publication. So you're still going to have to find an editor because you can't do it yourself. I'm just telling you, you got to go pro, all right? You don't want to cut corners. So you still will be able to, you still have to, I should say, go out and find a great editor, okay? Now let's talk about a couple of the pros. I mentioned one, which is you have your own equipment, right? That's a great pro. That is an awesome pro. If you have an office or a space to record in that really sounds good and that you feel comfortable in, that's another pro. But the really great pro of doing the DIY, do-it-yourself recording of your audiobook is that it relieves pressure, a lot of pressure. Because now, if you're not going into a recording studio, you don't have that pressure of, I have this time booked for 2 hours. I got to go in. I got 3 chapters I need to knock out. I better read these and narrate these perfectly because I only have this amount of time to get it done. And that's a lot of pressure to have when you go to a recording studio. And that's definitely a con for going to a recording studio. But when you're in your own recording space and you're recording at home, it lifts that burden off your shoulders. So you don't have that pressure of, gosh, I got to get it done in this amount of time, because now you're doing it on your timeline. Now, of course, it's super important that you are being accountable for your time, okay? Get an accountability partner. Get somebody that's going to make sure that you're going in and doing what you need to do so that you get your audiobook done in a timely fashion. So the one thing that I do tell my clients, and this is something that I tell every client I talk to, whether they enroll in my audiobook coaching program or not, and that is you have to plan it out. You got to map it out. You got to have a timeline and say, okay, I'm allowing myself X amount of time to do my audiobook, to record my audiobook. And then you got to stick to it, okay? And that's where being accountable comes into play. And that's where being disciplined comes into play. It's a lot of discipline. Now, you being an author writing your book, right? You had to be disciplined and focused when you wrote your book. And being disciplined is a huge aspect of being an entrepreneur, because you are the CEO of you. The decisions that you make, they stop with you. The buck stops with you. So you have to make decisions. And part of those decisions are creating a viable timeline for you to get your audiobook recorded in a timely fashion and making sure it's done well. So you have to be disciplined and you have to be accountable. And, like I say, find an accountability partner, find a friend or a family member or somebody who will keep you on track. This is why I coach authors through the entire process of doing the audiobook, because that's part of my job as a coach, is to keep you accountable, to be your support system, to be your safety net. Again, accountability partner, to make sure that you are sounding great and that you are getting the job done, the work done, and it is at the highest quality possible. All right. So you got to have an accountability partner, or at least somebody to keep yourself on track. Or, if you are one of those people who are just very disciplined, Well, that's great because that is a great trait to have. It really is. All right. So again, the other thing about not having that pressure is that you can go on your own pace. But like I mentioned, when you schedule out your timeline of what it's going to take for you to record your audiobook, map it out, and really give yourself a schedule. 5 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever it is. Pick a time where you feel your voice is the best, where you feel you won't have any distractions or interruptions when you're recording your audiobook, and then stick to it. Maybe it's an hour a day, maybe it's 2 hours a day, whatever you're able to do. You got to stick to that schedule. But that is one of the great things about narrating and doing it in your own home and setting up your own recording space, because you're in control of your time and you don't have that pressure of trying to fit it into this time box being in another recording studio. So that's definitely a good thing and a positive thing. All right. All right, this is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. We're going to take one more quick break. And I do have something that's really important that will apply to you, whether you record your audiobook in a professional studio or at home. Okay, we're going to talk about something that's really important, so don't go away. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. We'll be right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. You know, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And you are tuned in to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane, with Robert Lane Coaching. I have a coaching business, which I am an audiobook coach and producer. You can go to robertlanecoaching.com to find out more about what I do, helping nonfiction authors like yourself, turning that great book of yours. You got a great published book, and now it's time to take it to the next level and turn it into an audiobook that you narrate, because you're the best person who's qualified to narrate your audiobook, especially nonfiction authors. It's your story. Nobody can speak your story. No one can tell your story better than you. And our topic today is in regards to recording. Do you go to a professional recording studio, or do you do it yourself in a home recording studio? There's something that I do want to talk about, and this is something that I mentioned earlier, that it applies to anywhere you record, whether it's a professional studio or maybe you are doing it at home. Couple of things that are really important. Well, we did touch on one of them in the last segment, and that was about being disciplined and being accountable, because you need to have that discipline to be able to get the job done. But before you even hit that record button, you have to be in the right mindset. You have to be prepared. You have to do the prep work before you record, whether you go into a studio and especially before you record at home. Where is your mind? Where is it? Are you worrying about things that have happened in the past? Are you worrying about things that are coming up in the future? Did you have a bad day? Are you not mentally focused on just doing a narration and being in that present moment and being focused and grounded to do the job at hand? You got to be mentally prepared, no matter where you do your audiobook narration, no matter where you record. You have to be prepared. And part of that preparation is not only practice, because practice, of course, is really important, whether you are a singer or a musician or someone who's creative. You practice, you just do, because that's how you hone in your craft. That's how you get better at doing what you do. If you do speaking engagements, and I know a lot of people who are speakers, they practice. They have their keynote speeches and they practice because they want to be on top of their game. And even when I go out and I do speaking engagements and I do keynotes, I practice because I want to be on top of my game. I look at every speaking engagement. It doesn't matter whether it's at a school or a club or for a huge corporation. Doesn't matter. I look at it as this is TED Talk worthy, right? It has to be at the quality of TED Talk, where it's smooth and it's engaging, everything that you need, all those things, of course, to do a great narration as well, but all these factors, when you practice, you hone it in and you get into your zone, and that's where you need to be. So practice, of course, is really, really important. Now, with that comes confidence. You got to believe in yourself, and you have to believe and embrace your voice. So many authors who have gone through my audiobook coaching program have told me that they hate their voice. They don't like how they sound. They don't think they have what it takes to do a great narration, and they look for the easy way out. And the easy way out is, I'm just going to get a narrator. I'll just have a narrator do it. And those really lazy authors, which I know is not you, it's not you, they go for the AI route. And that is just detrimental to your author brand, because you are cheapening your author brand by having something that's not even your voice represent you and your product. Not good, okay? Don't cheapen your author brand. Don't go for the easy way out. Do the work, because you know what? You have what it takes, and you do have a great voice. You just have to love your voice. Love and appreciate everything about you, and voices included, because everything that is you, that makes up who you are, the person you are, that is what your author brand is all about. That's why you write your book in the style that you write it in. You express yourself in the style, in the way, and the pacing that you do, because that's who you are. Everything about you is your author brand, voice included. So love your voice, appreciate your voice, embrace your voice, have confidence, and believe in yourself. You got to build that confidence, because if you have lack of confidence, that lack of confidence is going to come through in your narration. It's going to sound timid. It's just not going to sound right. When you listen to an audiobook or you hear someone speak or someone sing and you're like, God, it's just not, there's something about it. It's just not connecting with me. Or maybe it is, something just doesn't sound right. That's why. Because it's those intangibles. It's those things that you can't physically touch, but you can emotionally feel. That's when you're in your zone, when you tap into those intangibles, when you tap in to the emotion, when you tap into your energy, and you're able to keep it consistent from opening credits to closing credits. You've got to be consistent throughout your entire book, no matter how long it is. Because again, remember, think about it from the listener's standpoint. They're listening to your audiobook and they want to be engaged from opening credits to closing credits. They don't want to listen to a chapter and go, wow, that was really good, and then the next chapter comes on right away, right? Now maybe there was 2 or 3 days when you were recording and you recorded one chapter, then a few days later you did the other chapter. Well, you don't want them to hear that difference. You got to match the intensity, match the energy, match the emotion, be consistent. Because when that listener hears the next chapter come up and your energy's lower, you don't sound like you're in it, you're not in your zone, they're going to know. And they're going to be like, kind of losing interest in this book. Now, maybe some people don't really know why, but that's why. It's those intangibles. It's missing. That energy is gone. So you have to really bring it back. And the way to do that is loving your voice, appreciating your voice, having confidence, because it all comes through. Okay? Embrace your voice. Love your voice. I got my voice, It's sometimes I think, I wish I didn't sound the way I sounded, but you know what? Hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. And I will throw you another catchphrase, all right? One of my catchphrases, and it's in my book. By the way, I did write a book called Lights Action You. This book was written more on the career coaching and life coaching aspect of it as opposed to audiobooks. But there is a chapter in here that I have a catchphrase that's called, or how's it go? It is, I am who I am, I do what I do, and I am not ashamed of it. Say that, use it. You can say that catchphrase. I may have coined it, but you can use it, all right? I am who I am, I do what I do, and I am not ashamed of it. Say that before you even go into recording your audiobook, because that helps boost confidence. And you want to have that positive mental focus, because when you do that, your subconscious mind will then believe you. And when your subconscious mind believes you, then you will come off as believable. And when you come off as believable, that's when you're being authentic. And nothing is better than being your true authentic self. When I listen to an audiobook, man, I love it when I hear nonfiction authors tell their story, because it is their story and they're telling it in their unique style and their unique way. And it is so authentic. And that sucks me into their story every single time. Even with the clients that I work with, when I'm working on their audiobook and I'm doing their editing and I finally create the final mastered audio files for them. And that's when I have the opportunity where I can really focus on what is being told. And every time I get so pulled in and drawn into their story. And that is a great thing, because what that shows me is, or I should, let's say it this way. That is a testament. That is a testament of how great the author did narrating their own audiobook. And every single one of you who are nonfiction authors can do it and can reach that pinnacle of awesomeness. Your book is awesome. There's no reason why your audiobook can't be awesome. And there's no reason why you aren't the awesome voice narrating the audiobook, okay? No one can tell your story better than you. So have the confidence, believe in yourself, have the discipline, embrace this wonderful sound that's coming out of your body. Your head is a resonator, and that's what helps create the sound that comes out of your mouth. Don't worry about, I have a Southern accent, or, or I'm from the UK and have a British accent, or I'm from, the Middle East, or, India, or whatever. It doesn't matter, because that's part of who you are. So embrace that, because remember, that's all part of your author brand. Everything about you, your voice included, is part of your author brand. Your belief systems, your energy, your pacing, your sense of humor, the way you write, the style of how you write. That's why, if let's say you're a coach and you've written a weight loss book, or how to, or dieting, or maybe an exercise, or maybe you're a relationship coach, or maybe you are a career coach, or a life coach, whatever it is. And there could be two coaches, but you know what? Coach A and Coach B are not going to teach the same way. They're not going to express themselves in the same way. And that's what makes you so unique. So embrace your uniqueness. And your voice is a key factor of being unique. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you go to a professional recording studio or you do it yourself and you have a recording studio at home. Embrace your uniqueness. All right. We're going to take one more quick break. I do want to talk about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. And I'm going to give you a quick summary of what we discussed today for our topic of recording studio versus doing it at home. And I just want to share with you again some other great things of why having an audiobook coach can really bring out the best in your audiobook narration. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Again, you can always go to robertlanecoaching.com to find out more about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. We're streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network, and we will be right back.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Hey, my friends, welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. I'm an audiobook coach and producer, and I have a business called Robert Lane Coaching, which you can find all about it on robertlanecoaching.com. Pretty easy. All right. So again, our topic today was covering the pros and cons of doing a recording in a professional studio, or DIY, do it yourself in your own home recording studio. Now, this is the way I look at it, and this is why I do what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. I believe that going the DIY route is the best for you as a nonfiction author. It saves a lot of hassle of you trying to vet out recording studios, find a great place to record, removing the pressure of having this very finite time that you're booking studio time to get your audiobook done. Doing it yourself takes that away. All right. So with the audiobook coaching program that I do coach with, which is again called Your Book, Your Voice, how convenient. This is the way it works. It is a 6-week program. So you can record, narrate, and be published by the end of the 6-week program. Doesn't sound like a lot of time, but you can do it. Now, obviously, I will continue to work with you. As I know, life happens, and this does happen with a lot of clients that I do work with who are very busy professionals. Some go off and do speaking engagements. Some have other business travel that they have to do. And that's fine. And we incorporate that into the program. So if it does take longer than 6 weeks, no problem, because you're still doing the work. But again, the beauty about being enrolled in a program like this is, number one, you're getting coaching. Okay. So when you're recording in a professional recording studio, or even if you're trying to do it on your own, you're not getting the guidance and you're not getting the coaching. Now, that's why when I wrote my book, I hired a book coach. I had a great book coach who really helped me write a fantastic book and still allowed me to be me. And it's the same approach when it comes to recording your audiobook. You want somebody who's there as your support system and who can give you all the tools and techniques that you need to do a great narration, but still allow you to be you. Because again, as I say, that's your author brand. So this is what I do in the program. I provide you with the professional equipment you need. That's part of the program. professional microphone, headphones, those things that I mentioned that you need to do, not the cheapy stuff, the good stuff. These mics and headphones that I send you are, like $300-$400 just right off the bat. But that's part of the program, and that's yours to keep. You get to keep the equipment forever, and that's a good thing. So when you do your next audiobook, you got it. When you do a podcast, you got great gear. It's terrific. I help you with setting up your account that you need to set up for publication. To be on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, you got to set up an ACX account. To be on other distribution platforms, I go through Authors Republic because for me, I feel they are more user-friendly than Findaway Voices. My personal preference, but that's what I help you do. That's part of the program. I teach you how to set everything up and to do it right. I teach you how to name your audio files so that there's no confusion, how to do file management. That's all the setup and preparation. Then, as your coach, of course, I really get into helping you do a great narration, being authentic, being conversational, bringing that energy, bringing all those intangibles, the emotion, those things you can't physically touch, but you emotionally feel, and how to be consistent and making sure you are consistent. All right. We go through all of that. And the beauty about the program is that I coach one-on-one. So I work with you one-on-one and I tailor the program to your specific needs. Now, I mentioned that whether you go to a recording studio or you are recording at home, you still have to have your audio edited. You got to have post-editing done on your audiobook, okay? No matter where you do it. So part of the program, of course, is that I do all the audio editing for you. I've worked 30 plus years in the entertainment business. I have an audio production company that I've been doing audio editing, and post-production editing for film and TV and voiceover and all that stuff for over 22 years. So you get experience and you're getting someone who understands the nuances of how to edit an audiobook and do it right the first time. And again, my editing style is listening to everything in real time, going through it surgically, going through it with a fine-tooth comb, however you want to do the analogy. But I listen to everything, and I remove mouth noises or any other anomalous sounds that don't belong. The other thing that's really important, of course, is that I am listening to your pacing. I am listening to your delivery. And that's where, again, as your coach, I can make sure that you are doing a great narration and keeping you on track and making sure it is consistent from opening credits to closing credits. And I am listening to how you are pronouncing your words. What if there is a mispronunciation? What if there is a slurred word? What if there is something that just doesn't sound right? I'm going to have you do it over. Hey, can you redo this sentence? Can you fix this paragraph? That's all part of the process. And you know what? That's part of the process, so it's a good thing. But to have somebody there to guide you step by step through the process is what creates an awesome audiobook. And that takes your book from just being mediocre to being fantastic, this great, compelling, and engaging audiobook. That's what you want. Because again, as an author, you cannot cut corners with your products, your ebook, paperback, hardcover, and especially your audiobook. The other thing that we do in the program is that I upload your audio files for you for publication. You don't even have to worry about that step. It's done for you. And then we also talk about marketing and ways to promote your book and promote your audiobook and getting people to buy all the formats of your book. And because again, that's your product, right? You are an author, you're an author brand, you're a professional, and just embrace it and love your entrepreneurship, all right? So the first step you need to do is just schedule a call with me, all right? Book a call with me. We're going to put up a graphic. You'll see it there. That is my call link to my calendar. Book your call. For those of you who are just listening to the audio portion of the podcast, the link is bit.ly/audiobook onboarding, okay? And you can also go to my website at robertlanecoaching.com. But book your call. Let's talk. I talk to every author before I enroll anybody because I want to make sure you resonate with me and I resonate with you because we're going to be working together. All right, so book that call. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. My last assignment to you is this. When you're out and about in the world, my friends, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment because that small gesture of kindness can make the world of difference in somebody's day. So go out there, my friends, and be good humans, all right? This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm Robert A. Lane. RobertLaneCoaching.com is the website to find out everything about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be talking to you next week, my friends. Take care.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.